Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show. And today, this afternoon, wherever you guys are, I'm going to be discussing the Modipius John Carter 2D20 role playing game. Let's start it off with the player's guide, which I didn't actually read this one because most of the information is in the core rulebook. But it's really nice to have this smaller version for just players, so they don't have to. As you'll see, the other products are pretty extensive, pretty heavy, and they take up a lot of space. This is something you could just grab it and go, along with the notebook that I got that I actually haven't opened because as I'll go into later, I don't think I'll be running this game until I've actually played a few times, and even then I'm hoping to actually get in the or a Conan 2D20 game first, just to see how I like it, because there's some things about this version of a John Carter game that I'm just not 100% on. The rules are very different from what I'm used to. Then, real quick, there's the narrator's toolkit with a nice little. I think this is an adventure book with some little addendums to the actual narrator's rule book, as it were. No, it looks more like just additional information, but then there's the. Let's take this part off. It's just a back cover sheet. The GM screen, which I have to say right off the bat, this is the finest GM screen I've ever seen. Just the artwork is phenomenal on the outside cover for the players to really get in the mood of the game. This thing is made probably out of wood as opposed to just cardboard, because it's pretty sturdy. And of course, on the inside, you've got all the relevant information that a GM would probably need. And I don't also have any of the dice, which, having read the book, I realized that I would definitely want to get some of the dice, because not necessarily the D20s, but I know they're in a big set. You get sixes and 20s. And the D6s have some faces with different symbols or game mechanics, as opposed to just ones through sixes, which, a lot of games do stuff like that. I'm not really a big fan of the specialty dice, but, I love dice. I've got a huge collection of dice. Well, not huge anymore, but I've got a nice collection of dice that have served me well, and, I'm not superstitious or anything like that. But, I kind of like to just use what I've got. And, I am looking for a few dice, but mostly like something that's metal, just because that intrigues me. Now, the main core set right here, I keep the cellophane on any product as long as I can, just for that added little bit of protection and, being a little anal retentive, I guess. But I tend to just keep it on there, just as long as it will hold intact. I know I'm never going to cut loose with this set of books. They'll always be in my collection, even if I never ever play it or run the game. I've got hundreds of books like that I've just read and shelved, and I'll probably never get to them, even if I lived 100 years. Now let's go into the main attraction here. Now, before I go into the rules and everything like that, let's take this one out. These books, while I don't like this format where it opens like this instead of a normal way, it makes it very difficult for a guy like me who reads in bed a lot, or in a nice comfy chair. They're just super wide. It's just awkward. I know with Modipius, they've tried to reinvent the wheel in a whole bunch of different ways when it comes to their D20 games, and a lot of their other products, even with the Mutant Chronicles Kickstarter that my son and I backed and have enjoyed immensely. They didn't go to this effort to just change everything. But the books, the artwork, all the construction on every level is top notch. These guys really know how to put out something that's going to last a good long time, not get dinged up, and it'll withstand some abuse, not too much. I wouldn't recommend just throwing them in the backseat of your car every time you go somewhere. But with the slip cover, which is pretty sturdy, the covers, the pages, the materials like that, the artwork is usually great. There's sometimes where, let me see if I can find an example where even the maps are fantastic. The page quality is wonderful. The built-in bookmark, I absolutely love that because I tend to use things like index cards or tissues or something really awful like that as a bookmark. But here, these two pictures right here. See if the little guy can zoom in. First, there's this one. There's a yellow Martian. The artwork is in my opinion, a little too lacking of detail while they tried to fake it. In my opinion, I'm just not thrilled with some of these characters. Now this one right here, she's just, not very attractive, and this genre of story, everybody is beautiful. The only people that are ugly are the bad guys. That's just always the case. And for a female, born on Earth, maybe that's the thing is she's an Earthling, so she's kind of homely. But everywhere else, well, not everywhere else. There's some, cheesy looking pictures, I want to say, but that's not always the case. A lot of the artwork is stunning, especially if you look at like these covers. These are just absolutely phenomenal. Let's go over here real quick to the Phantoms of Mars, which I believe is just an entire adventure, which I didn't get a chance to read also because this book is pretty massive. And I had to actually restart reading it because I just felt like I wasn't, grasping all of the concepts when it comes to the rules. And, I do kind of like this sort of shiny, glossy bit over the dull background as well as the logo. It just, they pulled out all the stops when it came to producing the actual book. And so if you're a fan of anything 2D20, especially if you're a fan of John Carter, then this is an absolute godsend. And even though I'm not thrilled with everything, I do regret not having backed the Kickstarter back in the day, not just because of the miniatures, even though they were resin, and you guys know how much I hate resin miniatures. I just despise them. I would rather they be made out of wood or something. Resin is just, I've had nothing but bad experiences with it. And when you're filing off mold lines and you have to wear a hazmat suit because of the toxicity, things like that, and the fragility of the miniatures. But they still, on film, the miniatures looked fantastic, and all the other bells and whistles that came along with the John Carter Kickstarter, the leather bound edition and things like that. I might even get them someday if I see them. Now on to some of the things I don't like about the game. From what I understand, now I could be wrong, and if I am, guys, please chime in the comment section because I'm new to this whole game engine, the 2D20 system. There are some things I like about the game system, but I want to knock out the things I don't like. It's very, very vague in all respects. The game mechanics are variable. They can fluctuate from time to time, circumstance to circumstance, and what's going on in the story. You might roll certain dice in one situation, other dice or dice pools in other situations, and to me that's it's a little too manipulatable by the players. The other thing I don't like about it is the lack of any sort of value of treasure. Now, don't get me wrong, I am a materialistic guy. I like my miniatures, I like my possessions, and I want to have more. But nowhere have I seen any mention of anything of value other than the, surviving day to day and keeping one's honor, which, is absolutely paramount in my opinion. But, reward for less scrupulous characters, they're going to want to know, things like that. How much does this cost? How much, how many of these do I have? What's this worth? What can I get with this? How much is a flyer? How much is a throat? Things like that invariably would be very important, especially in the games I'm used to playing. Micromanaging your supplies, your resources, your finances, all those things are are very important. I just made up a character for Bruce Lombardo's uh, Dungeons and Dragons game or Pathfinder game. I think it's well, it doesn't matter. The game he's running tomorrow morning, and if you haven't seen one of his games or his videos, definitely go check him out. But I spent almost as much time buying equipment as I did making up the character, and I enjoyed that part because I want to know, I'm a paladin in the wilderness. I want to have, plenty of supplies. I'm making camp in the wilderness and all this other stuff on my own. I want to know how long it is before I'm in trouble, how much water I have, how much food I have, when I need to, restock my supplies and all those things, how much money I have, what are my options basically. Another thing I don't like about the game is that the in their attempt to go as streamlined as possible, they leave out a lot of things when it comes to like skills and abilities. It's like this, so they assume you know that. But in other games, if you didn't have that specific skill written down, you couldn't do it. Here, you're kind of jack of all trades. Jury rigging every little situation. Seeing if you can do it without really knowing if you should be able to do it, if that makes any sense. Games like Traveler and Palladium, for example, even Pathfinder, every little skill is documented, what you can do with it, what you can't do with it, what your chances of success are. Here, the better you are at your physical stats, the better you are at hacking or, improvising every single situation. And I really don't like that. I like a little bit more specifics. When it comes to, for example, things in real life, I know what I can do and what I can't do. And sure, I can try some things, but, if I try to do things outside my wheelhouse, I know 9 times out of 10 I'm going to fail. And if I get lucky, it's literally getting lucky. So those things I really didn't like about the mechanics of the game. And maybe the D20 system is for people who are newer to the hobby and have less foreknowledge or pre-knowledge of those kind of mechanics and those kind of die roll necessities and game mechanics and game rules and things like that, which I over 40 years I've grown accustomed to, and I like them, and I'm comfortable with knowing what I know and knowing what I don't know down to the percentage points. The things I do like about this system is that they went into so much detail. They read the books hundreds of times between the crew that worked on this this project. They really had an absolute love for the IP, for John Carter, for Edgar Rice Burroughs. They were loyal to every aspect that they could. And having read the books recently and how much I love them and appreciate them, and especially Edgar Rice Burroughs' life in general, if you haven't read anything about him, you really should, go and do a little, watch a couple of videos on the man, because he was an incredible individual. They In going into this project, they found the most knowledgeable people they could, and really went in depth, more so than a lot of good old fashioned Dungeons and Dragons projects. They really respected everything. Sorry, the dog is getting to be a little weird today. I don't know why. You have to forgive us for that. He's a good boy, but he's just being a knucklehead. And when they put this together, they, like I said, they got the best people they could, and did the absolute best job. Out of all the books I've read recently, the games that I've done, this one has the absolute most lore and love for the world of John Carter. And while I do have a lot of concerns about the game itself, I realize those are probably based on previous experiences and all of the other games that I've played that are so different to this. And I'm gonna give it a chance as soon as I get the opportunity. Maybe some of the people I know out there that do run these games, will invite me into one of them so that I can, get a better idea. But there's a lot of game mechanics that I just don't like, especially from a dungeon master's point of view. There's mechanics where the players can literally force the referee to change the reality of situations with using different kinds of points and different like brownie points and gimmies that they earn throughout the course of the game. They could literally throw a serious monkey wrench into the referee's plans for the story. I realize the game is the story, not the other way around. But if you're running a module, you follow the that story, you know that idea. Otherwise, you might as well not even be using it, because you can just go off and do something else and make up your story as you go along that way. But when it comes to railroading and stuff, this is not, in my opinion, the game for dungeon masters who want to railroad the characters into a specific, chain of events, let's say. And I'm not really comfortable with, giving up my power as a DM or a GM. The number one rule of Dungeons and Dragons is the dungeon master is always right, and I still adhere to that. And it may sound a little totalitarian, but if you're going to be a game master, you have to have the confidence that you know what you're doing, and you know what you're doing is right. And then in the end, the players will be like, "Oh my God, this was great." And that doesn't always work out, but for the most part, any good dungeon master worth his salt will really be able to pull that off. And I like a good sandbox as much as the next guy, but sometimes it's really nice when a referee has a specific plan for the story. Okay, okay. You're in the show now. Go. Sorry, sorry. We love you. We love you. Now go. Down. Down. I will bop you. Get down. Down. Yeah. Anyways, that's Chewy. In case you guys haven't seen Chewy before, that's my mutt. He's a super mutt. He's a super good dog, but he knows what we're doing, and he wants to be in the show. And now he's complaining he's not in the show. But back to the other show, the John Carter Warlord of Mars role-playing game. Don't take me wrong. Don't get me wrong, I should say. I really like a lot about this. But as a dungeon master, I don't know. I really have to play through a good solid campaign of any of the D20s, even the Octung Cthulhu, who actually sounds like a lot of fun. Conan, absolutely, sign me up any day of the week. I'm ready for that. Just because I'm a big old barbarian at heart, and any chance to swing a broadsword, I'm up for that. This game, however, I'm just not so sure. And if you guys, have some words of advice, because someday I wouldn't mind running this game, were my skill level and my information and understanding of this be a little bit more in depth. But if you guys are D20 fans, if you guys are John Carter fans, maybe you'll get a little bit more mileage out of this than I have. Just for the moment, there's just a couple of things that are just, sometimes it's just one rule that can ruin a game for you. And unfortunately, this one has about a dozen that I'm just not sure that I would enjoy. I understand that, possibly millions of players out there are enjoying the 2D20 system. But right now, until I get to actually play in the game, I don't think I have a really fair opinion on how it works and how it plays out. But from what I see, it probably has a lot of merit still left in it. Just not yet for me, just not yet. Hopefully, those of you out there who are running online games, might want to reach out and say, hey, why don't you jump in and see what you think, and then maybe later on I'll come back to this and be able to give you guys a little bit better review. And again, don't get me wrong, great, absolute great addition to my collection. I'll keep reading this and see if maybe on my own I can work it out in my head, and if not, I still have John Carter material. Look how thick that book is. This one, and there's this one. That's a lot of John Carter stuff to read, and as you can see, I'm a big old John Carter nerd, and I absolutely love this stuff. So I'm glad I got it. I hope you guys will grab it too if you're John Carter fans. So then there's more of us, and you can like I said, hit me up in the comment section and let me know if I've got something wrong or if I'm misinterpreting something, and who knows. So from all of us here at the Shadow and Sun Show, I want to thank you guys for putting up with my birthday month tribute to Edgar Rice Burroughs. All the fun we've had. I will be back Sunday with the little guy. to show off all the crafts that we've made for the month in homage to Edgar Rice Burroughs and the world of John Carter. And until then, tonight there will be no 10-car live stream, so I won't be over there, but I will be over on Legion of Myth, hanging out with all those crazy guys, and I hope to hear from you guys then, especially if you've seen this video between now and then. Otherwise, have a absolutely wonderful weekend. The weather is just spectacular right now, and as always, we love you. Good night.